All right, back out here again for the third time on the highways and hedges. The Chief Lesson Concourse on this May the 27th, 2026, on this Wednesday afternoon / night. So with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Heavenly Father, true name is like Yahweh, and his only begotten Son, by Hashem, the name of Hamashiach Yahushua. Those are the true names they mentioned, brother in Hebrew, the tongue. And I said, Barak to the elders and apostles, what I give, what I quaff, and I said, Shalom. Back out here again, once again, for the third time on the highways and hedges of the Chief Lesson Concourse on this May the 27th, 2026, on this Wednesday night. So I'm getting into some recent news articles, which you had Nero 47 once again for the last past 3 days, had used supposedly in self-defense of some type of drone was heading towards the United States armies over there, the Strait of Hormuz. And then the United States did in self-defense once again for the past couple of days. Some drone, they used some missile launches towards some type of drones from Iran. And they target once again some military sites that belongs to Iran, And keep this in mind, you had the Israel Defense Force was mentioned that if Iran was saying that if the Israel Defense Force in the United States keep on using self-defense strikes against them, that's kind of jeopardizing the negotiations that they already have. And that might jeopardize the ceasefire as well, too. And then you had and this was another news article from RT.com. It says Trump threatens to blow up regional ally Oman. It says the president implies the U.S. would attack the Gulf state if it sought to control the Strait of Hormuz. But because you got Iran, they still want to control the Strait of Hormuz. And that was supposed to be part of the deal. Because it was like some type of report that was coming out earlier today, and then you had Trump and he had a cabinet meeting today. I think it was earlier today. He said that news article from Iran was not true, because it seemed like he wanted to have full control of the Strait of Hormuz rather than Iran. Because Iran, they still gonna find ways to control the Strait of Hormuz, and they still gonna try to keep their nuclear capability as well too. So these negotiations been kind of up and down, kind of been shaky, especially with Trump been kind of changing his mind with some war words, and with some type of war words and stuff like that, and with some type of war words and what's that? Psalm 64 verse 8 is tongue should fall upon his own self. Was that 55, Psalms 55, verse 20, verse 21? War was in his heart. War was in his heart. His words included in butter, but war was his heart, kind of slipping tongue words a little bit. Because, Nero 47, he's a reprobate, double-minded, like it says in the book of James 1 verse 8, Sometimes he want to have peace there with Iran. He want to continue on with the process with Iran, or he just want to continue to go to war with Iran. And so that lets you know he's kind of unbalanced, he's kind of unstable. Now, it's a news article Trump is talking about potentially, he said Trump threatens to blow up regional allies or Oman. It says the president implies the U.S. would attack the Gulf state if it sought to control the Strait of Hormuz. And that's most likely allies from Iran, and then Iran trying to continue to have the control of the Strait of Hormuz as well too. It says that the U.S. President Donald Trump says he suggested that the U.S. would attack its allies of Oman if the Gulf monarchy attempts to claim control over the Strait of Hormuz, which have effectively been closed since the U.S. and Israel launched fresh attacks on Iran in early February. It says, according to the Reuters, Trump made the remarks after Iran state television reported that an unofficial draft agreement that would reopen the volatile waterway with Iran and Oman jointly managing maritime traffic. It says no. The Strait of Hormuz. It says the Strait is going to be open to everybody. It said Trump told journalists during a cabinet meeting on Wednesday, we will watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's the part of the negotiation we had. He added, no, Iran is going to control it, and Iran's allies in the world control this world too. It says the international waters in Oman, we will behave just like everybody else, or we will have to blow them up. This devil, man. Nero 47, man. And for the first part, first of all, the United States armies has no business doing over that in the Strait of Hormuz. You know, the United States is not part of the Western Asia. You know, they have no business trying to tell somebody what to do of having to control the Strait of Hormuz. So Iran, you know, they have every right to control the Strait of Hormuz, you know, because they live in that region, they live in that area. So how can you tell some other nation from a different part around the world to tell them what to do? You know? It says Oman. It says a key U.S. ally meditate talks. It says Iran nuclear program until they suspend the conflict. Iran and Oman lie on the opposite side of a narrow straight path, the Strait of Hormuz, which normal handles about 25% of the global's seaborne oil trade and 20% of the liquefied natural gas. The LNG shipments are closed. The route to ship from the hostile nations following the U.S.-Israeli strikes, while the U.S. declared its own blockage of the Iranian ports in April. Tehran has since insisted on sovereign rights to manage traffic through the Strait of collected tolls. I mean, they have every right to, because they live in that area, you know. The United States doesn't live in that area. They're not supposed to control that area, you know. And because this Nero 47, you know, he won't control everything. You know, supposedly says for everybody, but at the end of the day, back in his mind, he want to control everything, you know. He want to get resources. He want to get resources, oil, you know, whatever the case may be, you know. This is Iran's peace terms reportedly include demands for reparations. The U.S. will withdraw U.S. troops from the region and the end of the Israel war in Lebanon and Gaza. The U.S. has demanded that Iran completely dismantle its nuclear program, which Tehran insists is entirely peaceful. Right, and if they don't fully dismantle the nuclear program, the United States is going to use military threats against them once again, you know. And then you had this supposedly earlier today. I mean, what was that, like an hour or two ago? It was reported you had some like 3 explosions not too far from the Strait of Hormuz over there in Iran. Supposedly, the United States, once again, for the second time in 3 days, they were saying this is supposed to be a self-defense in defense of their military. You know, because as I mentioned again, you had the president of Iran and the foreign minister and the Iran officials were saying, was that day before yesterday, they were saying that if the United States keep on continuing violating the ceasefire, that's jeopardizing the ceasefire, and that's jeopardizing negotiations. You know? Now the United States talk about supposedly they said this is self-defense because some type of drones head towards their Navy ships and military ships over there in the Strait of Hormuz. You know? So these are signs of wars and rumors of wars that Yahushua spoke about, which is only going to continue to increase. And this is in the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6. You got Matthew 24 and 6. It says, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See, there should be no trouble for all these things, much come to pass, but it is not yet. Right, so we hear wars and rumors of wars on and off, back and forth, increasingly between Iran and the United States, the Strait of Hormuz, and the war between Hezbollah. So the tension between Hezbollah and Israel officials, that's continuing to heat up this war too. So these are signs of wars and rumors of wars heating up. The Russia-Ukraine situation, that's intensifying. So these are wars and rumors of wars that are intensifying on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to bring out some more news articles to Wadi Habashim. Yeah, so we're occupying in prophecies, you know, as being a watchman. It says U.S. refused to condemn Russia's plan to target KV, which I'm kind of surprised. It says says fighter jets escort his plane into Kazakhstan. All right. It's the time of Israel. Says there's some more news articles on that as well too. Slovakia. All right, let's check the time of Israel. Yeah, this was earlier today from the time of Israel. It says Trump says the U.S. is not satisfied with talks days after claiming a deal. Right, days after claiming a deal. And then he had the self-defense strike once again for the second time within the past couple of days, which I spoke about already. It says U.S. said, this was updated 34 minutes ago from time of Israel. It says the U.S. carried out strikes against Iran military sites for the second time this week for the self-defense. It says 3 explosions were reportedly near the Iranian port, triggering an air defense. Filmed the kicking couple of it says it triggered the air defense from Iran. It says so these are signs of wars and rumors of wars. Now if you go to the Jerusalem Post, see they got some updates with that as well too. And so wars and rumors of wars are heating up that Yahushua spoke about of these times is going to occur, and that's what we've seen. It says Hezbollah. It says the IDF and Hezbollah conflict intensifying as military destroys territorial infrastructure across Lebanon. It says the IDF may have destroyed over 10,000 Lebanese homes that were storing weapons belonging to Hezbollah group since the operation began. Right, because what was that? Yesterday, you had the Israel Defense Force they deployed some more troops so they can get more deeper into the southern Lebanon, which they did previously. They're doing it once again as of yesterday. So that lets you know heavy tensions are heating up between the Hezbollah soldiers versus the Israel Defense Force soldiers. So this is what you call wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, that Yahushua spoke about. It says IDF unalived 2 central Hamas groups in the Gaza Strip, and 2 soldiers reportedly wounded in Lebanon. It says, this is a news article. It says Iran will not back down. The red lines and negotiations, the Iranian security officials say. Yeah, so these are wars and rumors of wars heating up. It says Trump threatens to blow up. This dude is crazy. I mean, even though I read about this already. And so Nero 47, this dude is crazy, man. Hey, it's like he'll say something that day, and then he'll say something totally different. You know, he's kind of backwards. His mind is kind of unstable, you know. So he don't stick with one thing. He'll say something that following day, and then another day he'll say something totally different, you know. And that's Nero 47 for you. Yeah, this dude bugged out, man. Yep, it says Trump threatens to blow up Oman if they interfere in the Strait of Hormuz. Right, because I think Iran got some allies over there in that area as well too. You know, if the allies of Iran as well too, if they have trying to fully control the Strait of Hormuz, and then the United States might potentially use some strikes against the Iranian Israel Defense Force. I mean, the Iranians of their allies over there in that area, over there in the Strait of Hormuz. You know, so this situation between Iran and the United States is kind of up and down and shaky, especially with the Strait of Hormuz. Who's trying to have the full control of the Strait of Hormuz? You know, either it's Iran and its allies, or it's the United States, and it's open for everybody. You know, so these next couple of days, we're going to see continuing to fully control of the battle of the Strait of Hormuz. You know? So these are wars and rumors of wars heating up. You know? Right now, I'm trying to get to that. You have to look at Matthew chapter 24 and verse 7. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, which goes to ethnos. And there should be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, because you had two, I spoke about this earlier today. You had 2 earthquakes. Both of them was like a 6.0. I would say not too far from Australia, Argonne of Australia, like 900 miles from it. So that was 2 earthquakes over there in that area. And then you got the famines and pests and plagues are increasing. And then you had another earthquake over there in Alaska. I believe that was like a 5.6 earthquake. So we see these uptick of earthquakes in various places, earthquakes in diverse places. We see the famines and pestilence are increasing. So we're going to see more and more of these wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, of famines, pests, and plagues. It's going to go continue to increase. Now, if we bring out that Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 8. Yeah, it's the book of Jeremiah. So even if we sound like a record player, it got to be brought out, And just like the elder Apostle Tahar said, even if we sound like a broken record, it's got to be brought out, This is Jeremiah chapter 28. Because it makes perfect sense, because we are living in a time of prophecies are being increasing, and the soon to come they're going to be fulfilled as well too. This is Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 8. It says, the prophets that have before thee and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and great kingdoms, war, evil, and the pestilence. Right? So we see these war, evil, and the pestilence in our world today is going to go continue to increase. This is Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 9. It says, the prophet which prophesied peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass. Then shall the prophet be known that Yahweh should be sent. Right? These prophecies, they're going to come to pass and be fulfilled. And this is Jeremiah chapter 51. And this is the book of Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 46. It says, "These shall heart faint, while the heart of mine, and ye fear for the woman that shall be heard of name, and that woman shall come both 1 year, after that another year, shall come a woman, by some man rule against rule." Right, so that's what we see in modern rule against modern rule. So that's only going to continue to increase. So we bring out that Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verse 1. It says, right, a time for everything. Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time for every person heaven. Right, so we're living in these modern day times and seasons, and every person heaven, which is modern day biblical times. Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 7. It says, in a time to reign, and a time to sow, and a time to decide, and a time to speak. Right, so we're in a time of speaking of biblical signs and prophecies are increasing. Wars, rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, the pushing of the mark of the beast, the time of rejection, trouble, the famine of the word. All these biblical signs and prophecies are increasing. It's our time speaking about prophecies. And just like Habakkuk 2, verse 3, for the vision shall for appointed time, but the end shall speak, not lie, tarry, wait for it, because it should come not tarry. So these are prophecies, they are not tarrying, they are increasing. This is a shout out to that brother Yahweh, the prophets of sin shall come between. And this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 8. It says, in a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, a time of peace. Right, so we're living in a time of war. We still live in a time of war, in a time of HATE. So that's all that will continue to increase. And this is the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. It says, and the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Ezekiel 30, verse 2, it says, Son of man, set thy face against God, and obey God, and the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Right, so we're prophesying against God, and obey God, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, which is ruled by the Russians, the Edomites. Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 3, it said, Thus saith Yahweh Shemashah, behold, I am against thee, O God, and the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, right to this day. Ezekiel 38 and verse 4, it says, I will turn thee back and put places to thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horse and horsemen, all of them cloth for all sorts of armor, giving thee great cover of shields, and all of them handling swords. Right, so Russia, they still gonna be in that warlike mindset. That's why Russia and Ukraine, that situation is, it's intensifying by the day. And then we're seeing, European Union and NATO going against Belarus and Russia. That be heating up as well too. Just like I mentioned, what was that, like a couple of days ago? It was like 2 days ago, you had the world leaders, they was keeping an eye on Belarus. They was checking to see if Belarus is aiding and assisting Russia, while the Russia-Ukraine situation is intensifying. Because as Russia threatened to use some type of heavy military defense against Ukraine, so that lets you know the tensions are really intensifying between Russia and Ukraine on a day-to-day basis. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 5. It says, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with all of them were shielded him. Right, Persia, which is Elam, Ethiopia, the Cushites, Libya, all of them were shielded him. This is, but you got Russia, they got military bases over there in Libya as well too. And then you have Russia with their military ships being set throughout Ethiopia as well too. And then you had, I would say not too long ago, you had Russia and China. They recently that military exercise drills together over there in the Persian Gulf. So that lets you know, you still got that alliance between China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. It says Ezekiel in Russia is allies with Cuba as well too. Now, this potentially might happen if the United States might set their sight against Cuba. They might go to war with Cuba. We're gonna see how that plays out. Because you've been having, I think the president over there in Cuba, and the military leaders, who was that like a couple of days ago, they sent like some type of flyers over there in their country. Down there in that region over there in Cuba, they were sending out some flyers to citizens just in case they have to come under enemy threat from the United States. And then the army soldiers, they was doing heavy military exercise drills just in case they come under threat from the United States armies. So, and then you've been having, China and supposedly Russia and North Korea potentially might gave some military aid assistance to Cuba, just in case they come under heavy military fire under the United States potentially, that might occur. So these are signs of wars and rumors of wars that we're seeing increasing. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 6. It says, Gomer and all his bands in the house of turmoil of the North Quarters, and many people with thee, because you got Turkey, their allies, they got military bases over there in Iraq and Syria as well too, over Turkey. Because you've been having Turkey been dealing with the Kurdistan armies for a very long time. I would say ever since the 1980s. Ever since, what was that, last year, if I'm not mistaken, they had to deal with the Kurdistan armies because they've been battling with them for a very long time. So I won't surprise the proxy groups and the pro-Iranian groups going to be teaming up with Turkey and them. And their main target is going to be the Israel Defense Force. And Russia is going to be a guard unto them. This is Ezekiel chapter 30, verse 7. It says, Be thou prepared for thyself and all thy companies that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Right, so Russia is definitely going to be a guard to these nations, Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, and Turkey. And all it's going to lead up to the Third World War, Hey, just in case the United States try to target Cuba in a military defense, hey, best believe Russia is going to be there to aid the system, and China and North Korea, Hey, so that's going to lead up to the Third World War. Yeah, we're in those times. And this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 17, verse 1. It says prophecies about Damascus. It says the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus take away from me the city, and it should be its roaring heat. Right, so Damascus or Syria is taken away from being the city, and it should be its roaring heat. So this is a future prophecy that we're still seeing the making of Damascus. Syria is going to be taken away from being the city, and it should be its roaring heat. This is Isaiah chapter 17, verse 9. It says, in that day said his strong cities be as forsaken, and brought in the uttermost branch, which they left because the children of Israel, and there should be desolate. Right, so that land over there, Syria, is going to be desolate. Said Yahweh. And this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 17. It says, Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which they shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Right, so the Heavenly Father is going to stir up the Medes, which is the Russians, against the Virgin of Babylon, and as for gold and silver, they shall not delight in it. And what's that, Jeremiah 51, verse 11? Make bright the arrows strong. Got those arrows, those missiles. Jeremiah, the 50th chapter. The Heavenly Father's going to use the nation from the land of north to rise up against her. That's why we're going to see potentially the escalation going to heat back up between Russia and the United States. Nuclear arms race is going to heat back up once again. And this is the book of Luke 21. I'll get to the New Testament now. This is the gospel of Luke 21 and verse 9. It says, but when you shall hear wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet, end by. So I'm going to bring out those recent news article from North Korea. I believe they have fired off some missiles as well, too, once again, as of lately, because I spoke about that earlier today. So I'm going to bring out that news article. It says, North. So I'm going to go to the latest one. It says North Korea. It says, this is from AI Review. It says North Korea fired multiple projectiles. It says, and ballistic missiles towards off the shores of West Coast on May 26, 2026, right? That was yesterday. It says weapons were launched from near the Cheongdu in North Korea gained provenance. It says at least one short-range ballistic missile was flying approximately 80 kilometers. It says into the Yellow Sea. It says the May 26th launch was a part of the broader series of tests to expand. I'm waiting for this bus to go fast. Yeah, it says May the 26th. That was yesterday. It says May the 26th was a launch, a part of a broader series of tests to expand the country's nuclear and missile arsenal. The key events surrounding these developments, including, it says a new military hardware. The launch concluded a test of new developed lightweight multi-propulsor missile launch systems and a tactical cruise missile system. It says a state media report that including, it says the AI-guided tactical cruise missiles and precision-guided artillery rockets. It says a regional response. It says South Korea Joint Chief of Staff and the U.S. Pacific Commanders tracked the launch, condemning. It says condemning them as a clear violation of the UN Security Council resolutions, which they accused them of previously in the application once again. It says the broader context. It says these launches comes after a previous test fired earlier in the year as part of the Figure Games' ongoing efforts to showcase modern warfare. Right, with the AI warfare, they did that today as well too, with that previous missile launch a couple days ago. So that lets you know North Korea is in that warlike mindset. So they're building up their military defense, especially the heavy tensions that they have against South Korea and Japan as of late. It says these launches come at previous test fired early in the year and a year are part of the PRG's ongoing efforts to showcase a modern warfighting capability and expanding of self-defense nuclear materials. Yeah. Yeah, so let me get to that Matthew's the 24th chapter. Matter of fact, I can bring out that book of Luke 21 verse 9. Salakia. This is the book of Luke 21 verse 9. It says, but when you shall hear of wars and commotions, while we hear wars and commotions, tensions are heating up between South Korea, Japan, and United States versus North Korea, and then North Korea versus South Korea, and South Korea and Japan. Those tensions have been heating up of them against North Korea, and then North Korea launched one of their AI warfare, nuclear warfare, modern day warfare of the AI with its army nuclear capability from North Korea. The ongoing tensions that they have against South Korea and Japan, as I mentioned once again, and the United States. This is Luke 21 in verse 10, right? Things to come. It says Luke 21 verse 10. It says, then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right. So nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So I'm gonna get some more insight about the tension between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Because I haven't heard no more tension about that ever since then. I'm seeing some more latest news updates about that situation. Yeah, Afghanistan. I'm in the same spot. It says the geopolitical impasse. It says the Afghan Taliban group denies that the TTP operates from their soil. It says while nations like China and Qatar has attempted to it says geopolitical impasse. It says the Afghan Taliban government denies that the TTP operates from their soil. It says, while nations like China and Qatar has attempted to mediate peace and de-escalate tensions, negotiations have largely stalled due to the fundamental disagreements over the recognizing of the curbing military groups. So that lets you know, if that's the case, tensions are going to heat back up once again between Afghan and Pakistan and cross-border conflict on both sides. And these are Elamites. That's that biblical nationality, Elamites, It says the border closures. Trade between the two countries have suffered a major long-term disruption. It says this aggravated the economic and humanitarian crisis in the Afghan limit following a volatile in supplies and medications. It says casualties and displacement. It says hundreds of casualties has been reported on both sides, while the UN performing significant civilians unalive and regional displacement right between both sides of Pakistan and Afghanistan. It says Taliban retaliation. It says the Afghan Taliban has fought back, launching drones and strikes on Pakistan military installations and mounting aggressive cross-border ground offenses. It says the military action. It says Pakistan launched an extensive air-ground strikes inside of Afghan territory. These operations will Pakistan describes as selective intelligence base and have struck military bases and infrastructures and the former U.S. air base in Bagram. Right, that's over there in Afghanistan. It says open warfare. It says in late February, even though that was a couple months ago, because ever since then, the tensions have been dying down between both sides. But you had a latest bombing over there in I think like a train station over there in Pakistan, and I believe they blame it on either Afghan or Pakistan or something like that. So that lets you know, despite the fact they got this ceasefire going, tensions been heating up ever since then. For like a couple of weeks ago, but I won't be surprised if he backed up once again. So I'm gonna check that tensions between Sudan. Got the Sudan war. Check the latest of that. So these are wars, rumors of wars that Yahushua spoke about that was going to continue to increase. It says rights group accused the United Arab Emirates of being transit a point of the mercenaries on the way to Sudan. It says the United Arab Emirates accusing of training Colombian mercenaries for Sudan war. It says Sudanese war, military defections, intelligence of alleged Saudi connections. Yeah, so the tensions are still heating up over there in Sudan. Yeah, Sudan and South Sudan. So these are wars and rumors of war still heating up. So as of 2026, it says the Sudanese civil war now in its fourth year. It has escalated from a fragment war of attritions. It says with the intense drone strikes and ground battles. It says the Sudanese armed forces, the SFF, the primary rapid support forces. It says the RSF remains locked, and the strategic statement has triggered that the UN calls an abandoned crisis and the world's worst humanitarian emergencies. It says the current geopolitical and military landscape. It says the territorial control. The SFF controls most of the center and east, including recapturing the Khartoum, while the RSF primarily controls the western Darfur and parts of the Khartoum regions. Hey, shout out to that brother Yahweh, the props in the scene, Judge Come Twin. Right, so this it says the recent clashes over there in Sudan, the South Sudan. It says the latest recent clashes, the RSF launched a drone strike on the government bases in Scotland, while the SFF managed to push into the reopening supply routes, banning the fall. Right, so yeah, it's heating up over there in Sudan and South Sudan as entering this fourth year in the war. And this is the book of Luke 21. Yeah, it's the book of Luke 21 verse 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and stars, and upon the earth the stress of nations will perplex where it were. Right, so there shall be the stress of nations will perplex where it were, and that's what we're saying, Hey, why do you have Bashmir Shah? Yeah, I'll get back to that Luke 21 and verse 10. Right, this is the gospel of Luke 21 and verse 10. It says, then say, Salakia, Luke 21 verse 10, right, more is to come. It says, then say he unto them, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, so we're seeing the nations are in perplexity. We're seeing nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, mighty ruler against mighty ruler, wars and rumors of wars. That's going to go continue to increase now. Now, if we get to that Revelations, Revelations, the 9th chapter. Then I'm going to get to that Joel, the 3rd chapter. So all this is going to lead up to the Third World War. This is Revelations 9 and verse 12. It says, the one woe pass, and behold, there come two woes hereafter. Why, so one woe pass, and behold, there come two woes hereafter. That's why we're seeing the nations are in perplexity. Luke 20, verse 25. Because, we're getting closer to the time of the Gentiles and the armies of the nations is coming to full effect. Because the time of the Gentiles and the armies of the nations is almost up again. This is the book of Revelations 11, verse 14. It says, the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Armageddon, Armageddon 1. Now, if I bring out that Joel. Matter of fact, before I start that, before I get into that Joel, the third chapter, make sure the sound is good. Yeah, just to make sure it's locking. Yeah, but just make sure the sound is good. Yeah, it seemed like the sound is good. Yeah, it seemed like the sound is good. Yeah, the audio how about you, chat. Just wanted to make sure. All right, I'm gonna get to that Joel, the third chapter. Matter of fact, in the meantime, before I do that, I'm gonna check to see if it's some more news articles. So I'm gonna check out news now. Check out some more news articles. As we continue to occupy prophecies, as being a watchman, watching out for these biblical signs. Like it says in the book of Isaiah 62, verse 60, verse 7. Right. It says, this is from the Miami Herald. It says, any conflict over Taiwan would risk a U.S.-China escalation. Studies find. Yeah, so ever since last month, Nero 47 went over there into China to try to, it was like a high stakes meeting because you had Taiwan, they was kind of keeping an eye on that situation. But you're still going to have the United States going to have deals with Taiwan in your way. So, because China was warning, because I believe, what's his name, Xi Jinping, once they was having those talks, he was speaking in his language. He was warning Trump right in front of his face. He was speaking to him right in front of his face. Once they had that little high stakes meeting, he was warning Trump about doing deals with with Taiwan. And then he had paused the Taiwan sales because he was about to approve it automatically, but he had paused it. But the most likelihood that he's gonna approve that another transaction of a military arms sales to the United States going to get to Taiwan, and then that's going to stir up more tension between China and Taiwan. Now you had one of certain officials. They were saying that they're not trying to have no conflict with Taiwan, but Taiwan they is bringing that heat though, And so that lets you know, especially throughout the years, they've been doing these heavy military exercise drills under previous administrations from Taiwan and the United States. And that lets you know Taiwan and the United States, they've been monitoring China of their heavy military presence as they've been getting closer to the immediate spread line, the immediate red line, the Taiwan Strait, as they're getting closer to invading Taiwan. And then the United States are going to have to get involved in that as well too. So this was a survey from the Newsweek newsroom. From the newsroom, newsnow.com. I meant to say. Yeah, this is from the Miami Herald. It says, this was last reported an hour ago. And what Elder Apostle Parr say, he says you miss a day, you miss a lot. And he is right about that. While they have Ashman Chat. Now it says in the last half hour, it says any conflict over Taiwan would risk a U.S.-China nuclear escalation, study finds. It says U.S. strike Iran again. Officials say after Trump's denied the deal of Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, so these wars and rumors of wars on and on, back and forth, heating up. It says U.S. military strike in the Eastern Pacific unalive 2 men. Right, supposedly it's supposed to be like a self-defense strike in the for the past 2 days, within this week. It says this is from the Miami Herald. It says Russia warns Armenia on supplies of EU bid. Trump backs PM Pasidia. I believe that's how I pronounce his name. And because we're going to be seeing that Revelation 17 verse 16 comes into full effect. The beast shall hate the war. NATO rising against the United States. That's part of NATO. And then I believe it was some news article. It was like day before yesterday that the United States is going to slash support for of NATO. Despite the fact they sent 5,000 troops over there. And it was kind of confusing to NATO. That they was like the NATO was kind of guessing for a second like what the United States is doing. Hey, I won't be surprised if NATO will be happy to replace the United States, for them not being part of NATO no more. So that lets you know. So that lets you know that the division between NATO and that lets you know that the division between NATO and the United States is being divided now. So whenever that's why the book of Mark the 3rd chapter says, if a kingdom be divided, except the kingdom cannot stand. That's what we're seeing. It says, this is from PBS News. This was last 4 hours ago. It says Uganda, right? It says Uganda closes borders with Congo, where expected cases of rare Ebola outbreak tops are surging. Right, cases are really surging between the borders of Congo and the Uganda. So they close their borders on both sides. It says Chinese military says it used electronic attacks to drive off the Dutch fridge gate, if I pronounced that right. It says, this is from PBS News. It says, PBS Online. It says the Israeli military tells residents across southern Lebanon to leave as it fights Hezbollah. Right, its tensions are heating up, which I spoke about that already. This is from PBS Online. It says Cuban diplomats right down there in Cuba, Havana. It says Cuba diplomat said Havana is not seeking conflict, but ready to defend itself against the United States. Right, just like Nero 47. He said he was handing his sights against Cuba. He's mentioned about that last month. And then as of lately, it was a couple days ago, he was saying that now he changed his mind. And he said he want to have some type of diplomacy with Cuba in the United States. Now he changed his mind once again. Now he's saying his potential target of Cuba, of a potential escalation with Cuba. But Cuba said they're not looking for an escalation. But if that's the case, they'll be ready to defend themselves. So these are signs of wars and rumors of wars heating up. Yeah, bro. Just looking through some more news articles. It's a lot here. Yeah, I've seen those was previous. Yeah, those were previous news articles within the last 10 minutes. It says it says why some experts fear of the ROK missile sites could intervene North Korean strikes. Right, so the tension between North Korea and South Korea is heating up on a day-to-day basis. So these are signs of wars, rumors of wars. Now I'll be able to get to that Joel the 3rd chapter. Damn, phone had that on. Dang. Yeah, just like it says in Joel the 3rd chapter. Wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. As we see, tensions are heating up over there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Western Asia, So you're gonna have more high tension still gonna be heating up over there in that area. So you're still gonna have a cross-border conflict heating up between the tensions are still going to heat up between Hezbollah and the Israel Defense Force. And you're still going to have tension between the pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force. Just like I mentioned, it was like a couple of days ago, you had the Houthi. I'm waiting for that to go past. And just like you had not Cuba, my mistake. You had the Houthi rebels, the top leader. He said we have a very high chance to defeat Israel. And that's coming from the Houthi rebels. And that goes into that Joel the 3rd chapter. They let the weak stand strong. And so these are proxy groups, the pro-Iranian groups, all together going against the Israel Defense Force, United States Army. So those tensions are only going to escalate, despite the fact they're trying to ease the tensions, but the tensions been heating up ever since then, And then you had Benjamin Netanyahu, what was that, a couple of days ago? He said he's going to intensify and ramp up his military defense against Hezbollah. And Hezbollah, they're going to do the same thing as well, too. And then just like the United States, for the second time within the past second time in this week, supposedly a self-defense strike or something like that. So we're going to, within these next couple of days, we can see how this plays out, you know. And so these wars and rumors of wars are definitely heating up, you know. And so these war evil and pestilence is only going to continue to increase, especially with these modern day wars. And what's that? Revelation 11:14, the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Now from the source of the topic, and so the third war's war, that's still going to come to pass, we feel. And this is the book of Revelations. Yeah, it's the book of Revelations 11:14. It says the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Why? So the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Armageddon, Armageddon one. That's why the nations are perplexing. So we see in the time of Gentiles almost be fulfilled. But this is a controversy of Isaiah 1, like it says in Isaiah the 34th chapter, you know, Isaiah 34 verse 1 to verse 8. You know. All right, so I'm gonna leave it at that. And another prophecy that's going to come to pass fulfilled, this the mark of the beast. And just like the third war's war going to come to pass fulfilled, this mark of the beast, this prophecy is going to come to pass fulfilled as well too. You know? This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. It says, he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free or bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads. Of this visual Arphite Egypt that they want to implement in your right hand, your foreheads, for you to have the mark of the beast. That's why we come out here to tell the Israelites, whether they hear what if they bear, even if you prophesy into wind, tell the children of Israel, hey, do not take that mark of the beast. Hey, choose the ways of the Heavenly Father, Son, begotten Son, Hamashiach, Habashah. This is going to be a new financial system in this current beast system. This is going to be implemented among all the nations in order for you to buy or sell to be part of society. They already got these 15-minute cities already in play. You know, they got this real ID, digital ID, Bitcoin, stablecoin, cryptocurrency. This Neuralink, just like you had Elon Musk. He was mentioning about what this Neuralink that they want to have. This is going to be supposedly Cesare Borgia type miracles. Hey, that goes into that Second Thessalonians, you know, and in Revelation 13 chapter, you know. So we start to see the son of perdition, the man of lawlessness. He's being revealed these times, and then we're seeing the man that's ruled this beast system. We start to see that increasing of him implementing this mark of beast among all the nations, and that our temptation comes into play. So that lets you know this is a major prophecy that's going to come to pass fulfilled. The mark of the beast. That's why we tell the children of Israel, do not take that mark of the beast. And out of the right side, that we want to be part of that as well too. Because we want to continue to trust in the ways of the Heavenly Father and Son, begotten Son, Hamashiach, Habashah. So, because as long as we continue to keep the paces of the words of Hamashiach, Habashah, and out of the right side, that He give us in that expectation. But this is going to try all that dwell upon earth in order for you to buy yourself and part of society. If you don't have that mark of the beast, hey, you're going to be an outcast in today's society. You know? And this is these are the times, you know, we're about to enter into. And this is what we out here sounding alarm about on a day-to-day basis. Even if we sound like a broken record player, you know, because these are major prophecies, they still going to come to pass fulfilled, you know. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. It says, he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should not, it says that the image of the beast shall both speak and cause that many that will not worship the beast and shall be K-I-L-L. And so if you don't worship the beast, hey, best believe you're going to be K-I-L-L. That's why that our temptation comes into play. Hey, what's that? Revelation 13 and verse 15, and that Revelation 14 and verse 11. Hey, these are the times we're about to enter into. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. It says, and the cause of all, right, because the ultimate deceiver, he's going to come down with great wrath because he know he have a short time to rule, you know. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. It says, and the cause of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free or bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads. Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. It says, and that no man might buy or sell. Right, that no man might buy or sell. Say that he have the charagma or the name of the BSC or number his name. Revelation 13, verse 18. It says, here is wisdom, let him have understanding. Count the number of the BSC, for it is a number of a man. And his number is SIX, the bunch to restore SIS. And let's look at Revelations chapter 14, verse 8. It says, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city. It says, because she had made all the nations drink of the wine of fornication. Right? Because America, America resembles mystery Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, version of Babylon, because the nation's been drinking the wine of fornications even still to this day. It's like an ancient Babylon, now modern day Babylon. This is a modern day spiritual Tower of Babel, and this is the version out of Babylon spiritually. America resembles that, This is Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. It says, and the third angel followed him, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image, and receiveth the Quran in his forehead or in his hand. Revelation chapter 14, verse 10, it says, the same shall drink the wine of the wrath of Yahweh, which is poured without mixture, in his cup of his indignation. And he should be torn with fire and brimstone in the presence of holy and present land. Right, so if you had that mark of beast, you're going to hit with fire and brimstone in the presence of holy and present land. This is Revelation 14, verse 11. It says, and he spoke of their atonement ascending up forever and ever. They have no rest neither day or night to worship the beast in his image. And whosoever receiveth the Quran name. Why, so you're not going to receive no rest neither day or night if you had that mark of beast. And so these are the times about to enter into. But it's going to be a time where in order for you to buy or sell, to travel to point A to point B, to go to like different cities, to go to like different towns, to get to like different countries and stuff like that. And if you ain't got that mark of beast, you won't be able to buy or sell. You won't be part of a function in today's society. So the wicked, he's coming down with great wrath because you have a short time to rule. And that's in the book of Revelations 12, verse 9 to verse 12. And these are the times we're about to enter into. As I mentioned again, this is what we out here sounding alarm about, major events and prophecies that's about to come to pass fulfilled. That's why we're measuring the time, vision itself, and occupying prophecies, And this is the book of Revelations, chapter 14 and verse 11. It says, I'm gonna leave it at that. Slack. Matter of fact, bring up that Matthew 24th chapter. That's a precept to that Revelation 3 verse 10. Yeah, it's the book of Matthew 24th chapter. Yahweh Shai speaking in red letter. This is the book of Matthew's. I meant to say Yahweh Shai speaking Salaki. Yeah, it's the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 21. It says, for then shall be great tribulation, since there's not since the beginning of this world to this time it should be. Right, so it's going to be a great tribulation time, nor since the beginning of this world to this time it should be. This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 22. It says, Ezekiel 7 verse 5 and verse 6, second Hedges 8 and verse 50. Second Timothy, the third chapter. These are the times about to enter into the famine of the word. Amos 8 verse 11 verse 13. These are the times you're about to enter into. Some unprecedented times like never before. This is Matthew chapter 24 verse 22. It says, some those days should be short, that no flesh should be saved. It says, but for the elect say those days should be short. Why? So while the wicked continue to bear rule right now, it's going to be no flesh should be saved. But for the elect say those days should be short. And so we want to endure that hour of temptation. We want to be part of that room, be part of hopeful elect school too. And we want to be under that protection of the Heavenly Father. Like it says in our Psalms, the 91st chapter, and then Proverbs 18 verse 10. We about to enter some unprecedented times. And the time of Jacob Shobel, Jeremiah 30 verse 7, that's going to come to full effect. And that hour of temptation, that's going to come to pass, be fulfilled, right along with the mark of the beast. Another prophecy come to pass, be fulfilled. And that that Second Timothy, the third chapter, also in the latter days, perilous times should come. These are great tribulation times. Daniel's the 12th chapter, the time of the end, because Michael the archangel going to have to stand up for the children of our people, and these are times about to enter into. So we're about to enter in some unprecedented times. As I quoted that scripture of Habakkuk 2 verse 3, for the vision shall have appointed time, but the end shall speak not, lie, tarry, wait for it, because it should come not tarry. So these are war, evil, and a pestilence, and these are major events, and these are prophecies. They're going to come to pass and fulfill, because we're in those times, Like it says, what's that, Ecclesiasticus, the third chapter? For there is a time and seasons at every purpose of heaven. We are in those modern day times and seasons. Biblical signs and prophecies are increasing at a historical rate on a day-to-day basis as the days progresses on. And these prophecies are going to come to pass and fulfill. So with that, I'm going ahead and close it out. So back out here again, once again, for the third time on the highways and hedges. The Chief Lesson Concourse on this So back out here again once again for the third time on the highways and hedges, the Chief Lesson Concourse on this May the 27th, 2026, on this Wednesday night. and Kwadi Habashman Shad, as always, for giving us opportunity chance to come out here to lifting up the names of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Habashah. And Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim Wa'akwaf, as we continue to lifting up the names of Yahweh Yahshua and Kwadi Habashman Shad, as always, for our campus about with the holy angels, where we out here teaching on the highways and hedges, the chief place of concourse now, so more than ever, at Kwadi Habashman Shad. So with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, and the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach Habashah. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, the logical, the Holy Tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf. Until next time, I will say Kol Masharala, and the Ball, and Shalom.